People have been bussed in here from out of state, okay? And so the reason it's now is because it's exploded over the last couple years. Listen, I live in Tulsa. I love Tulsa. That's where I grew my business. That's where my kids went to school. Before I won governor and moved to Oklahoma City, we lived in Tulsa, right? When I went back up there and drove around, when my wife drove around, she was sending me pictures. It has exploded. Anybody that lives in Tulsa over the last few years can see the uptick. So that's why now it's, hey, I was letting, you know, I'm not blaming this on Monroe Nichols, right? He's inherited some of this stuff, but it's time to actually enforce the law.
Where did they come from and how did they get here, and what gives the governor the right to remove them? Tonight we're going in depth on who is actually living on the streets in the city of Tulsa as Operation Safe continues today. Believe it or not, there is actually some hard data out there as to who exactly is experiencing homelessness among us and if they were in fact bussed here by other cities trying to get rid of them. There is solid data out there as to who these people actually are inside Tulsa city limits and where they came from. And that data is updated every year. It's actually mandated by the federal government under the Department of Housing and Urban Development. And here is what the 2025, what is called the point in time count, says about the unhoused in Tulsa. There are 1,449 people living on the streets of Tulsa. 75% of them started their homeless experience in Tulsa city limits. 82% of all of the homeless in Tulsa started that experience within the state of Oklahoma. Now, we don't know where the other 18% came from, but the vast majority of these people you see are our fellow Oklahomans. The ones who came to Tulsa but started somewhere else in the state came to Tulsa, according to the survey, because of the resources and services offered in Tulsa by churches, nonprofits, and governments. 2 years ago, our own investigative reporter Jenna Clark spent weeks, days, and hours face to face with those experiencing homelessness in Tulsa and asked them, where did you come from? These people are on our streets, are mostly Oklahomans, if not just Tulsans. Here is a snippet of that story.
I asked dozens of homeless people how they got to Tulsa.
Have you heard of anybody being given a bus pass to come here?
Come here? No.
No one told me someone gave them a bus ticket. I even went to the Greyhound bus station to ask.
It's the idea of, you know, other cities basically saying we don't want to deal with the homeless problem, and so we're going to put you on a bus to Tulsa.
No one here had ever heard of that either.
I think there's probably an issue of wanting to blame other cities for doing this.
Some people told me they came here from small towns in Oklahoma.
I'm from Tahlequah, Oklahoma.
To stay with family, to go to school, or to find work.
I couldn't find work in Oklahoma.
But many say they're from right here.
Where are you from?
I'm from Tulsa.
West Tulsa.
West Tulsa? Where are you from?
Here in Tulsa.
Where are you from?
Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Where are you from? Tulsa. Right here. Man. Tulsa, 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 yeah. Tulsa.
And when you speak to many people and groups working on the issue of homelessness, no matter what political side they fall under, they will tell you that there is not just one big homeless population. You've even heard it in some of our interviews and coverage just this week. In reality, there are 3 types of people experiencing homelessness, and these 3 types got them on the street. Let's take a look at them. The first group that is well known are, of course, the drug addicted and those with mental health challenges who have either had little to no access to sustainable treatment options. The second group out there who is experiencing homelessness are called by some as the working poor. These people have financially fallen through the cracks. They actually work jobs, but that wage is not enough to sustain them and lift them out of where they are. And third, of course, is the group everyone knows about. There are some who are actually happy living on the street. There is no desire to change that trajectory. They are fine with where they are. The law Governor Kevin Stitt is using to remove the homeless from state property is fairly new. It was passed only back in 2024. There is some debate. Here is some of that debate from the state Senate.
But it's unfair to the general public to be driving under 240 in Oklahoma City under an underpass and having people you're afraid they're going to roll out in front of your car with you and your family. That's unfair. We've got to have a higher level of responsibility than that.
So rather than creating more law enforcement encounters, rather than creating fines that are going to burden people who already don't have funds to have a place to live, We need to look at deterrents that are going to work for folks who may already be having a hard time making decisions that are logical to us.
The bill passed through the legislature along party lines, and critics were concerned that people were being pushed out of the only place they could find shelter and that there aren't enough actual resources for all of them. Supporters, however, sound a lot like Governor Kevin Stitt now, saying it's not compassion to let people fester in tents without insisting on they seek help. The U.S. Supreme Court ruled last spring that cities, states, and other governments can impose fines and crack down on homeless encampments. The court ruled 6-3 that imposing fines on the unhoused who violate anti-camping ordinances is not considered cruel and unusual punishment. Homeless activists sued the city of Grants Pass, Oregon, when they tried to crack down on tents in their cities. The majority of the court said the issue was far more complex than the 8th Amendment and that cities and other governments should in fact be given some leeway to take action on this. But Justice Sonia Sotomayor wrote in her dissent, sleeping is, quote, a biological need, and the ruling punishes people simply for not having a home. With all of that in mind, and where the legal authority is coming from, Governor Kevin Stitt said on this very program on Monday that Operation Safe could very well expand not just into Oklahoma City, but he even said Norman, Muskogee, and pretty much everywhere else in the state.
We're not foreclosing the the decision to go anywhere else in the state. Matter of fact, I have people just on Saturday. I went to the Oklahoma-Michigan game, and people from Muskogee to Norman to South Oklahoma City to downtown Oklahoma City have begged us to come help them. But we're also now seeing police and other markets go, hey, we better start addressing this homelessness issue and making sure that we're just enforcing the law. That's all we're trying to do.
Finally, Tulsa and even just Oklahoma as a state are not the only ones who have been wondering for years where all of their homeless came from. Feels like we've been talking about it for years, right? Even though the data clearly shows most of those on Tulsa streets are fellow Oklahomans who have fallen into hard times and had nowhere to go, but outside and into big cities where the resources are at least supposed to be. It's more than just our moment of wondering is happening again and now making headlines again. We have been talking about this for a while. The question about where all of the homeless came from, being bussed in from the outside and being walked across country from city to city, actually appears to have started even before the year 2007, but it was in 2007 the creators of the mature audience cartoon series South Park actually talked about luring the homeless out of their fictional community by bus, making the state of California sound extra super nice and friendly, similar to how the legend of many homeless in Tulsa came about. They even mixed Tupac and Dr. Dre's California Love. That's how long this theory of a ton of people just moving around from city to city by bus has been happening. Take a look.